I feel like I'm at brunch and wait for the waitress to come pour some mimosas.
Hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Get Wealthy Wednesday. Our focus here on Get Wealthy Wednesday is to increase the knowledge of building generational wealth by speaking with industry leaders within our community. Let's get some. All right, there we go. How are you? Good to see everyone today here in Periscope World and over on YouTube. So tonight's episode is brought to you by More Owned Business. So go over to moreownedbusinesses.com where they promote products and services by Black-owned businesses, making it easier to build and support our community from within. Also, special thanks to Catalyst for Change Global. Check out catalystforchangeglobal.com, where they provide an array of educational consultant services, speaking engagement, as well as planning and strategy sessions. So tonight, we welcome, make sure I can bring her over in here. There we go. There we are. So, how are you, Natalie?
I am doing well. Thank you for asking, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing great. So tonight we welcome business formation boss herself, Natalie Pierre-Louis. She is the owner and founder of NPL consulting firm here in DMV. So how are you this evening? Thank you for agreeing to come on tonight.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I am doing well. You know, we are healthy, we are happy, and I right now can't ask for more.
Exactly. That's good. I know there's a lot of stuff because of the virus and everything that's going on. It's kind of like dampened our spirits. It's probably hurt business a little bit in some cases, but hopefully not in your case, because everybody is constantly needing your services, right?
Right. Like during this time, a lot of people are, kind of thinking, well, how can I, flip this side hustle into a full-time hustle, or how can I just, bring in some extra cash, period, without getting, a second job, or even going, if there are jobs that you can even get at this moment.
Right. So tell us, I know what you do, but tell us more about you and who you are and what you do.
Well, I'm Natalie Pierre-Louis. I am an attorney, have been one for 14 years and counting. But in that 14 years, I have also had careers in education, in running my own business. I had a pet services business for a few years, helping other people start businesses, hospitality, administrative support. So, and through all of those experiences, I realized that there are a lot of people out here who have great ideas, but don't necessarily know how to get started on it. And I have always been a person that knows how to figure out how to do something. So I saw a need in my community, and I started my business formation consulting firm to make starting a business more accessible to the average person. Because I feel like a lot of people, they get scared away by, legalese and, business jumbo. And I want to make it, as user-friendly as possible. So that is how I got started with my consulting firm.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And believe me, for a person who's opened a business or two, your services are always needed. There is so much that a lot of entrepreneurs probably they have a great idea, but they just don't know what to do with it. sometimes they try to hurry up and start a business and like, okay, rewind, start back over.
Right. Like my favorite example to use is the person who runs around saying, I'm a CEO, I'm a CEO. Do
Yeah.
you have a registered corporation with your state? A lot of people don't understand what it means to be a CEO. Or
Right.
there's, I own a nonprofit, and you don't understand that you can't own a nonprofit. You may run one, but you don't.
Right.
So there's just a lot of steps. And I see people out here, they're running whole businesses from their bank account and Cash App, and don't have anything registered with the state. And I worry about them come tax time, when you're going to explain how you got all this income.
I know, right? Exactly. Yeah.
My apologies. My son is upstairs, and he's quite upset that he's not on this interview. So if you hear him, my apologies.
Hey, no, hey, not a problem. Hey, invite him down. I got some questions for him too. So how long have you been doing this?
I have been doing my business, my consulting firm, formally for, it's going to be 3 years, but I have been doing it unofficially pretty much since I got my bar license. I have had many a friend who has started a business, and they're like, Natalie, can you help me? And so, and we sit down and we go through the whole process. And this has just kind of been a lifelong progression for me. I feel like what I do is I translate the business formation process for the average person. And I've been basically a translator all my life. My parents, they weren't from this country. And, my father was in school the entire time I was in school. So I would be, reading over his papers to make sure the English was right and things like that. And tutoring my friends in school, college, just kind of helping people out. So this has just kind of been, I've always been able to break down complicated processes in the simplest ways. And it's translated into this.
Right. And you know what? I think that's how a lot of us probably started our business. I did the exact same thing a little bit, where it was, I was doing something so much for everyone else. I was like, you know what? Why am I not getting paid for this? So I decided to start doing it myself and, create a business out of that.
Yes.
So you touched on one thing earlier, and I really want to swing back around to that is, some people don't realize about, having that bank account set up for the business or anything like that. They think that PayPal or Cash App is their bookkeeping service and everything else. So how do you start to break that down to a lot more people to say, hey, look, this ain't the way you need to go?
So the hardest, or the most important thing that I want people to understand is, when it comes to tax time, and you don't have anything to show for your efforts, and you don't have anything organized, how are you going to go to your accountant and say, well, yeah, I ran a business, but it's all in my Cash App? And are you going to be able to show your accountant your, Cash App history? How do we know what was personal and what was business? That's why I stress, at the very least, have a separate bank account for your business, so that you can track the money going in and money going out, and so that you can account for your expenses. So even if you want to run your business as a sole proprietorship or a DBA, at least you can go to your accountant with, hey, here's what I did business wise, here's what I did personal wise, here are the expenses, let's work it out.
Right. So I know you said you were probably doing this a lot longer than you were getting paid for it, honestly. But what was your motivation to move into this level of expertise after your law? After you passed the bar.
My motivation, honestly, was I was going to a lot of events in the city, and I would see tons of people with their vendor tables and business cards, and you're selling your lovely wares and your products, but you don't have an EIN number. You don't even know what a business license is. You're selling food. You don't have a food handler's license. You're just kind of selling it out of the back of your car. And I would ask these people, do you understand that you need this and this and this and this? And people would look at me like a deer in the headlights. I remember I was going to these specific events, and people knew me because I was coming, and they were like, that lawyer lady is back and she's asking us for our business license. And I wasn't, it was kind of, yes, it was maybe a scare tactic, but I wanted people to know, you can't just be here selling whatever it is, your socks or, your beautiful bracelets, and
Right.
not at least let the state know that you're running a business.
Right. Yeah, I know. I've heard a lot of those type of war stories where, the police or whoever is coming to shut it down. Like, do you have a vendor's license? Do you have anything that says that you should be able to be here? Those type of things. I don't think a lot of people think about it. Sometimes, when we have certain businesses that we run, we might run out the trunk of our car or something like that. We
Right.
selling everything, t-shirts, CDs, all whatever it's going to be. But at the same time, to start to think about a process to have, to say, okay, do I have this checklist? What do I need to set up? Do I know what a DUNS number is? All of that wonderful, great stuff.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and you can still sell out the trunk of your car or whatever it is that you want to do. You just want to make sure that you have your paperwork all set up. So yes, get registered with the state. Make sure you have your EIN number so you can file taxes. If you make sure you have contracts, because you're going to want to work with people, you're going to have clients that are going to request things. You want to have contracts ready, protecting your intellectual property and making sure you're not infringing on other people's intellectual property, because that's a big thing that I see out there too, and people don't realize that they're doing it.
Right. I'm glad you touched on that, because I think that's one of the key things that I want to talk about tonight, because we do have a lot of people here in Periscope world, also on YouTube, who are business people. But at the same time, I don't think a lot of us think about the IP and
Mm-hmm.
understand exactly what IP is. So can you touch on that a little bit? Because, I think a lot of us lose money, millions, thousands. Some of us is only 100 heirs, but at the same time, we lose a lot of money because we don't understand the difference between, patents, trademark, copyright, all of that great stuff that kind of hems us up and, or can hem us up in the long run.
Right. I think especially in this climate today, because the barrier to entry to business is so low, intellectual property is becoming more and more important. Now, on the side of protecting your intellectual property, there are so many smaller brands who I have seen on social media who have had their ideas stolen by larger companies, and there's nothing they can really do about it because they didn't have a copyright or they didn't have a trademark, right? And then on the other side, there are stories of small businesses who have been handed very large, judgments against them because they either knowingly or unknowingly were infringing on a larger company's trademark, and the company was like, we want our money and we want it now. So being able to protect your brand and also protect yourself from infringing on someone's brand is very important in this climate, especially with social media. Look at, Instagram and YouTube, you put a song up there and they're ready to shut you down in a second. So intellectual property is becoming something, it's becoming a very large commodity, and people really need to give a lot of thought to that as more and more people enter the entrepreneurship realm.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I see it every day. People, I know a lot of people who, they may create their own T-shirts, they may create their own anything, right? And at the same time, they don't understand, what the process is to go about, or should this be trademarked or something like that. I know we see it all the time especially in the entertainment world, where I mean, you might get those 50 Cent people that just is like gangster with it. Just be like, you know what?
I got it, fifth.
You're like, look, I'm gonna teach you a little bit about trademarks.
Hey, but you know what? As much as I don't like 50 Cent, I think he is a terrible person. That man is a genius and he knows how to protect his stuff. He took what could have been, what was going to be maybe a win for Tierra Marie, and he made it a win for him. He
Right,
took the phrase. She didn't think to trademark it, and that was her bad. But he thought he had the forethought, or at least the lawyers around him, to tell him to trademark it.
right. So yeah, I mean, so as a as a lawyer that you're doing this, day in and day out. is there something that you see more prevalent against, that small businesses are not doing, or maybe that they should be doing better? Whether it's just the IP part of it, or if it's anything else related to, business formation, understanding, you know, the difference between LLCs and C corp and S corp and stuff like that.
The three biggest problems I see are people not separating their business funds. That's a big thing that I push. Please, 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 if you take nothing else from me, run your business from a separate bank account. The second thing that a big thing that I see is people not having strong contracts or not having contracts at all, and then you're left holding the bag because a client disappeared, or a potential business partner isn't holding up their end of the bargain. And then the third thing is not protecting your intellectual property early enough. The biggest example that I use is I may be showing my age, but for me it's still recent. Anyway, Baby from Cash Money, the song Bling Bling. I don't care what nobody say, that song is still relevant to this day.
Right.
Baby said, had he known how big Bling Bling would have gotten, he would have trademarked the word bling. Can you think about how much money Baby would have to this day had he trademarked the word bling? And he didn't. And it became generic. So now it is impossible to trademark the word bling.
Right. So yes, I guess that's the one thing about business, is trying to have a lot of foresight, or at least have, or at least have the people around you to be able. I mean, because you know what, we, especially as entrepreneurs, we try to do everything ourselves. You name it, we want to cook it, cut it, clean it, do all the type of stuff. Right? Sell the fish dinners, do everything, right? We want to do all of it. And instead of, actually bringing that team in and saying, okay, I need someone to, think about this. Maybe what is the best way to market this? What's the best way to possibly, try to, make, a profit off this without, losing our IP or losing anything that we're about to start doing, right? I think it's all about that foresight.
It is. But the thing is, for me, and I understand most people when they're doing startups, there's not a lot of, liquid cash to go around. But if you really believe in your brand, and if it's something that, you may have been thinking about this for 2-3 years before you even put it out on the market. But if you really have a belief in your brand and you don't want anyone to take it, particularly in this climate, it is to your benefit to, get the ball rolling on on protecting it. Now, if it's a logo, your business name or your logo, you're going to want to trademark. But my artists out there, if you have paintings, music, things that you create, poetry, books that you write, copyrights, you want to make sure, like, there is so much copyright infringement happening out here, particularly in the music industry. You want to be prepared, because as of right now, as of March 2019, the courts will not even hear a copyright infringement case if you don't have a legal copyright. So you need a legal copyright if you want to go to the court and say, hey, somebody's using my stuff, please make them stop. So that's what I want people to understand is you need to invest in your business. And if you believe in your business, you're going to want to invest in your intellectual property.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people that's in the music industry. They may make beats, they may make a lot of different things, and being able to get ahead of that, to make sure that you have all of that stuff, have all of your ducks in a row prior to releasing or doing whatever. I think that's very important. Whether like I said, whether it's music, whether it's writings, whether it's whatever, to have that copyright in place, right?
Absolutely. And and I understand that a lot of people, there is this myth, well, it used to be, I guess, kind of true, but the idea of the poor man's copyright, that does not exist, my friends. Okay. The poor man's copyright does not work. You cannot mail yourself your work and say, I got a copyright. No, the court only recognizes legal copyrights at this point. And these are the things that I try to impart to people to help them understand, the ins and outs, because there's a lot of misinformation in there, and I see it all the time. I'm in these Facebook groups and I'm like, this is not true, this is not true, this is not true.
Right. Exactly. You know what, it's so much, I guess once you make a meme out of it, sometimes people think that that's just like written in stone. I'm like, no, it's just a meme, and that it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So you
Right.
still have to go and do your own research and do a lot more things to just say just because somebody makes a pretty picture doesn't mean it's true, right?
Right, exactly. Like, look, the internet is an amazing and terrible place. You can get awesome information and terrible information at the same time. And unfortunately, the things that we usually get the wrong information about are the things that we need to know the most about. So, that's why I try to use my little corner of the internet to let people know.
Right. Exactly what's up. I know you had a segment on TikTok yesterday.
I did. I
Yeah,
did.
can you go into a little bit about that? Because I
Yes.
first off, I'm a tech guy, so I
Uh-huh.
understand how things work, especially like
Mhm.
when you're building apps and all this type of things, right? And it's like, hey, whether you're playing, Words with Friends or any of those games that you put on your phone, no one's looking at the terms of service, right? They're just like, oh, I want to hurry up and play.
They're
But
not. They're not. They're not. And I'm not going to lie and act like I read every terms of service. I don't. But for me, I just kind of assume that they're selling my information when I sign up,
right,
especially for a social media platform. But what we were talking about yesterday, like when you sign up for Facebook and Instagram, there are terms of service that nobody reads. They say in those terms of service that they can take your photos, your videos, whatever you're posting on there, and they can basically do what they want with it. They can sell it to other people. They can use it for advertisements. These are things that you agree to when you sign up for platforms like Facebook and Instagram. Now, prior to maybe a week ago, TikTok was not doing this. And from what I see, TikTok is very popular with underage children, right? So people are using TikTok, and TikTok is not telling people, hey, all those videos that you're uploading, all, the recordings, we're keeping all of that. And not only are we keeping all of that, we are selling that to third parties. So TikTok did not tell people that they were keeping and using that information. And now they are being sued by at least 3 different people in the state of Illinois for violating the Illinois
wow.
Privacy Act.
Yeah,
Now, TikTok has since updated their terms of service. Actually, last night on the show, somebody said that they had to redo their terms of service for TikTok the other day, and they had to read through the whole thing.
right,
Um, but understanding terms of service is very important. When you are on a social media platform, it might be private to the people that you don't want to see who live down the street,
right.
but powers that be behind that platform and any authority figure connected with that platform assume that information is out there. All
Right.
right. You don't own your Instagram page. I like to say it like this: when you rent a room in a house, the owner of the house gets the final say in what happens, right?
Right.
So when you're on Instagram or Facebook, you are renting a little piece of their internet, and they get to decide what happens with what you put in their house. It's their
Exactly.
rules.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, yeah, exactly. I tell people all the time, it's like, especially in these social media platforms, it's like uh, going to a play, right? You're the actor, and they're pretty much just they gave you a stage. They're selling tickets, they're selling popcorn, they're selling everything, they're selling the seats. Everybody is getting to watch you, not just the 100 or 200 people that's going to be in your live or in your broadcast that you think they're seeing. Everybody in the world has that information that you're doing, whether you're dancing, whether you're singing, whatever. They're privy to that, And the thing about it is, you're not getting anything out of it at times, right? Your data is king. They're selling data, they're selling everything, they're selling the shows, and you pretty much gave all your rights away. So I think there's a lot of things that a lot of people need to understand, not necessarily just with the social media, but just those type of situations of reading those terms of service, because you're pretty much giving the farm away and not really just because it's it's my platform, like no, not really.
Mm.
I think a lot of people mistake what you do, and whatever you think you have legally in place, but you're doing it on someone else's platform, then it kind of negates everything that you thought you put in place, right? Or could or
Right.
can't.
Right. It's like people who get upset when, Facebook or Instagram takes down their post. They
Right.
have every right to. It's their house. If they don't like the art that you're putting up in their house, they can take it down.
Right.
Now, if you want to have your own free platform, there are places that you can go. You know, now those may require you to put some money, but you're trading basically being able to use these platforms for free for your information. That's the exchange that's happening here. You get to show the world, you know, how cute you are or your talent or whatever, and in exchange, they get your information.
Exactly. So, all right. Now, I know this is going to sound like a crazy question. Is there anything that we can legally do
To what?
against, because I mean, like with those type of platforms, because now we have uh, the terms of service is all, is written in there. And then, of course, it's written in legalese. And it's probably, our phone is only so big, right? But the terms are about, a mile long, right? No one's going to read that. Is there
That-
anything that maybe someone on Periscope or YouTube or whoever they can do to protect themselves against those terms of service?
No. because that
I
you
mean,
no, because you agree to those terms of service in order to get on the platform.
right,
If you didn't want to agree to those terms of service, you don't have to be on the platform. Go somewhere else. But
right,
we all want access to it. So yes, it's kind of that, you're kind of in a way almost forced to agree, but you don't have to be honest. I know most of the people I know who are in tech or who work on computers, they do not do social media. All
right,
right, so while social media is great, I love it, I'm on it all the time, you don't have to be here.
right,
So if you don't like the rules, you can always leave the venue. The
right,
problem is a lot of us are dependent on the venue.
right, exactly. Especially the way Facebook and everybody. Well, we won't even talk about Facebook because Facebook has pretty much bought everything. So even if you were trying to stay away from Facebook, they was like, yeah, okay, we're gonna get you one way or another. So because they snatched up WhatsApp and Instagram and something else, I guess. But
They just bought Giphy.
yeah, see, they're taking over the world. So like I said, you just need to be careful what you sign up for or what you think is yours, especially when you're trying to put out on these platforms.
I use the rule that my 10th grade English teacher taught me, and this was before the internet was what it was now. She said, if you don't want people to know what you said, don't write it down. So if you don't want people in your business on social media, don't post it.
Right.
That's like my business social media. Yes, I post a lot on there. I'm very active on there because for a purpose, but as I have become more involved with social media, my posting on my personal side has dwindled to very, very little because
Right.
I understand what's being done with my information. And yeah, there's some stuff that I want to share with my followers and my friends and things like that, but I do value a lot of my privacy, so I don't post a lot.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what society has gotten away from, is understanding that there is a such thing as a private life. No one needs to know what you ate yesterday or whatever. Yeah, they share too much. People share too much sometimes, and that's just, like I said, being in the tech side and being in the security side, I kind of know, like, look, you're just blasting your entire life out there. But I guess depending on what you are, if you're like one of these social media influencers or whatever, that's kind of like your shtick. They're trying
Right.
to get your 15 minutes of fame,
Right. And if you're making your money sharing your life on social media, more power to you. But don't get mad when if your stuff gets taken down because the platform doesn't like it. Because at the end of the day, we are all just renting a room.
right? Exactly. Exactly. So I have a couple of questions about some of the things that some of the services you provide. I have put your link tree up here. I know there's a lot of different things on there, but
Yeah.
can you give us an idea of all the wonderful things that you do?
Okay, so the first thing is that for all of my new clients, I do give free 15-minute consultation. So that's one of the things that you can book at linktree/NPL consulting firm. If you go to the book your one-on-one session button, that's there. I also have a biz launch cheat sheet. So a lot of times people are like, I want to start a business, but I don't know what I want to choose or where to get started. So I've made this PDF document. It takes you through the steps of figuring out, okay, what am I trained to do? What do I like to do? And what can I get started in the next 7 days? And then, kind of give you a jump start to get your business started. So you can get that at that link as well. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel and my podcast, where I post the recordings of my live show that I do Monday through Thursday. That's also where I post wherever I will be speaking, so people can register. Pretty much, if you want to know anything that's going on with me, you go to linktree/MPL Consulting Firm. As well, during this time, I know that contracts are kind of just going out the window because nobody saw this coming. I am doing contract reviews, so you can make sure that you have your cancellation clauses and your force majeure clauses in place. So hit your girl up if you need your contract reviewed. And a lot of you, I know you're taking this time to build, to start that business ideas because you have the time. Yeah. I do one coaching strategy session so we can figure out how to get you on the road as quickly as possible.
Okay. All right. That's a bunch. Like I said, I've seen the website, so I know what it looks like. Like, whoa, okay, where do I start? Because I've actually used your services before too, so I understand a lot of the things that go into, whether it's the business formation part or trying to understand the patents versus trademark versus copyright, all those different terms that people think that are interchangeable, but they're not, and they're like totally for separate things. Like, I want to get that patent, and I'm like, no, I think it's not an actual product or anything, right? So those type of things is
right.
Those type of things. So yeah, I understand it, but like I said, I want to make sure that's up there. NPL Consulting Firm on IG. Also, the link tree is back up there, so all of your services are there. I want to thank you for being on here. I don't really have any more questions. Is there any more information that we should give the people to probably lead them with, or whether it's more information about what you do or just another something?
Yes. So like I said, I like to make the business formation process as accessible to everyone as possible. So Monday through Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do a live show where I use pop culture and celebrity stories to explain those topics. It's always a fun time. After I get off here with you, I'm going to go set up for the 8 o'clock show. So, if anybody watching would like to come on, I'll be going live on Instagram, NPL Consulting Firm, and on my Facebook page, NPL Consult. Feel free to come on and see what are the type of stories that I talk about. Okay,
that's great. All right, NPL Consulting Firm, right after we leave here. So just make sure if you're not following, well, not right after, but you.
Don't leave. Finish watching the show, y'all. Finish watching the show.
I know, like, don't leave. I see people.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right,
I ain't on till 8.
Exactly. Y'all got a little bit of time. All right. So, like I said, I want to just thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule, teaching us about, how to build our business the right way, how to, start thinking about IP, protecting our intellectual property. Because I know that, we lose, everyone has an idea. We get ideas, a million ideas a day, right? And then sometimes we actually act on those ideas, but we don't know how to protect them. And it's like, as soon as we think of it, somebody else could snatch it, or copy it or do whatever. And yeah, believe me, I've been in a situation where, they created a website that was like just like mine, but it was like a letter off or whatever. It was all type of confusion and stuff with it. Very, very, very fun. But
look, intellectual property is can be amazingly messy. And that's why I can keep doing this show every night, because there's so much of it.
Yeah, I know, right? It's every day, constantly. It's always something, especially when you're running a business and somebody wants to piggyback off of something that you've done, thought of, created, whatever. It's just like, like AirPods, right? Like iPod, AirPods, and then, one little thing, they'll change it to like JPods or something like that.
Right.
What
and the world is getting smaller, so it's like ideas that may come to a head. It's like it's becoming easy and easier to find somebody who's two people thinking about the same thing at the same time. The only thing that's going to protect you is getting that intellectual property in early.
Right, exactly, and that's coming through you, being able to talk to you about that and say, okay, look, what do I need, and how do I do it?
Right, and the little tidbit that I will give my business owners out there. Now, if you have a logo or a business name or a slogan, this does not provide you legal protection. However, it does put your industry on notice. Start putting the letters TM, the little letters TM, in the upper right-hand corner. It does not give you legal protection, but what it does say to your industry is, hey, this mark, this logo, this name, it's mine. I'm using it to sell my services, my goods, and I'm working on getting it legally registered.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That patent pending type of situation.
Yeah, trademark pending.
Exactly. Exactly. It's the TM, so trademark. That type of thing. Right.
Right.
All right. So that is all I have. I appreciate you for being here. Thank everyone for coming up, showing out for here on Periscope, here on YouTube as well. Join us next week. We have another episode of Get Wealthy Wednesday where we speak with Leslie Garcia. We've been spending a lot of time talking wealth. Leslie will help us tackle our mental health. So health is wealth, right? So it's a great way to end our May with May being Mental Health Awareness Month. So,
I will be here because I'm all about mental health.
Exactly. Make sure you come back. Bring your friends. Tell your cousins and tell your wives.
I'll tell everybody.
So yeah. So make sure you come back next week. We have we have a great show for that tomorrow. For next week, I should say. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, New Network. Make sure I put all of that stuff up here because I have so much stuff going on here. All right, so make sure you follow me on IG, New Network, YouTube, and Twitter, all at IMF Brandon. We will have, like I said, we will have her next week. If you found this show beneficial, be sure to support. You can support via Cash App at More Owned or donate via cryptocurrency on fredbrandon.info. So thank you all. I'll put that back up there as I scroll on out of here. And we're going to back on up. Thank you, Natalie. We will
thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, thank you. Have a great one.
Bye.
Yeah.